She snapped from her work dinner. The boss says I deserve a raise, in more ways than one. I realized she wasn't chasing a career. She was auditioning for attention. That night I closed the tab on us. Because respect pays better than any side opportunity, she was negotiating. The work dinner mutated into a pageant the second the tab hit 4 digits. At a brick-and-brass pub off McKinney, under a buzzing Shiner box sign, my VP, Grant Miller, 48, lifted his rocks glass and, eyes never leaving my fiancée, said, "Jenna deserves a raise in more ways than one." Laughter rippled like someone had cued a laugh track. I'm Ethan Cole, 29, an analyst on Grant's team. Jenna's 27, marketing across the hall. She slid onto his lap as a joke. The bartender killed the game feed for karaoke, and Grant wrapped an arm around her like he'd won a raffle. I pressed my thumb into the paper seam of a coaster until it split. I didn't make a scene. I noted details. The digital check read 2137. Grant signed with a flamboyant M. Expensed the tomahawk steak he barely touched, then insisted on one last stop. I bowed out. "Early call," I said, and pocketed my receipt. Outside, the February wind was enough to sting. At 23:12, my phone buzzed. Jenna's story, VIP booth, Vegas, the Pendry, not Dallas. Champagne sabered on a tray, purple LED strip, Grant's hand too high on her thigh. She leaned into frame, kissy face at the camera, glitter liner catching light. "Wish you were here." The caption read, 3-star emojis. I typed, "Looks like fun." Then I took a screenshot. The next slide was worse. Grant whispering in her ear, her tongue out. A corner of the room where our company logo sat on a step and repeat from that morning's conference. I took 2 more screenshots. Then I stopped watching. This wasn't just cheating. Grant controls my performance reviews and puts his initials on my annual bonus. He signs the travel approvals. HR training defines romantic relationships between supervisors and employees in neon. The policy slide lives in our LMS with a quiz I passed at 98%. I closed my eyes for 10 slow counts, then brewed coffee in the 4-cup Mr. Coffee Jenna calls Grandpa. 23:30. I opened my laptop. I don't do rage. I do paperwork. I drafted an email to HR and CC'd the ethics inbox. Subject, conflict of interest/policy violation, Grant Miller and Jenna Hart, marketing. I attached the screenshots, dropped the timestamps in the body, referenced the Code of Conduct sections 4.2 and 6.1, and noted potential retaliation. I added that I report directly to Grant and that Jenna and I cohabitate under a lease in my name only, Unit 1507, Elm and Field, so any spillover could impact housing stability. I clicked send. 23:44. Auto-reply came back with a case number. HR 2025-3117. I also exported my annual review notes into a PDF and saved them to an encrypted drive. I printed a single hard copy and slid it into the red accordion folder labeled Receipts, behind the car title to my 2015 Tacoma and the pet deposit agreement for our cat, Nora. Then I opened my bank and moved our wedding buffer from the joint travel card, where she's an authorized user, not an owner, to my personal savings. That's not punitive. It's a firewall. Authorized user access can be revoked without closing an account. I took a timestamped screenshot. My phone lit again. "Jenna, you're being weird." I typed, erased, typed. I settled on, "Your VP's hand is on your thigh." I forwarded the photo to HR. 3 dots. She replied, "It's networking. Don't be controlling." Another ding. A selfie, Grant's cufflink in her hair like a barrette. I stopped responding. At 0:09, Grant texted me directly, "Brother, relax. Jenna's a star. We're celebrating wins." No punctuation after relax. He'd never called me brother. I dragged the message into the evidence folder. I slept 2 hours. At 6:15, I packed a gym bag, plus the fireproof safe with passports and the small felt pouch with mom's ring I'd intended to resize for Jenna. The ring stayed in the safe. I set Nora's timed feeder, refilled the gravity water, and photographed the apartment as I left, the piano black TV credenza, the framed map of Big Bend, the hair straightener cooling on the bathroom quartz. By 7:30, I was at the office with a coffee and a legal pad. I requested a skip level with Grant's boss via Outlook. Subject, time sensitive. Then I booked at 10 o'clock with HR using the case number. I wasn't melodramatic. I wrote bullet points. Timestamps, locations, witnesses, potential retaliation vectors, schedule changes, review downgrades, exclusion from Q2 initiative. I printed a copy for the meeting. At 9:02, Jenna texted, "Don't do anything dumb." I looked at the word dumb a long time, then flipped my legal pad to a clean page and wrote the line that would govern my day. Don't shout. Document. At 7:11 my phone lit. Hi Ethan. I'm Meredith Klein, Ethics Counsel retained by the company. Case HR 2025-3117. Her voice had the clipped calm of someone who has done this 100 times. Thank you for reporting. Effective immediately, you are on paid administrative leave. Do not log in. Do not access files. Do not discuss with coworkers, friends, Jenna or Grant. Will preserve your systems. A DocuSign will arrive in 10. A car will collect your laptop at 9:30. I repeated the instructions back like a pre-flight checklist and wrote "No contact" in caps across my legal pad. The DocuSign arrived 7:22. I initialed every page, ticked boxes acknowledging non-retaliation policy, anonymous reporting rights, device custody. I took screenshots of the completion page and the timestamp. I set my personal email auto-reply to limited availability, family matter. Then took a sticky note and covered the laptop camera until IT arrived. The apartment's silence hummed like a refrigerator. I clean when I can't think. I scrubbed the sink grid, purged a drawer, labeled a banker's box, Jenna, bathroom, and set it by the hall closet without touching anything still wet. Nora stalked the box, chirped, lost interest. My phone kept floating to my palm and I kept setting it face down. When it buzzed again, it was Jenna's story. Bottle parade, confetti, a caption, big bosses, big moves. Grant's pinky ring glinted near her knee. I screen recorded, saved, and set the phone face down again. At 9:07 my badge stopped opening our SharePoint portal. IT had already walled off my access to protect chain of custody. The courier came at 9:31, scanned the laptop, the spare charger, and my docking station into a Pelican case, then handed me a receipt with a custody number. DF 112948. You'll be contacted for a remote interview, he said. I nodded, wrote the number on my pad, photographed the receipt, filed it in receipts. At 12:04, a coworker pinged my personal phone from her own. Security at Miller's desk. I replied with a thumbs up and nothing else. At 12:26, all hands in 20. I sat on the edge of the bed, tied and retied my shoelaces, then unfolded the red accordion folder and checked that mom's ring and the titles were still in place. At 13:17, the company-wide email arrived. Grant Miller is no longer with the company. Effective immediately. 3 sentences, no tribute. I opened the org chart. His box was an empty gray tile. I typed Jenna's name into the marketing directory out of reflex. No results. 2 empty directories in 1 hour. I revoked Jenna's authorized user status on the travel card. Tap, tap, confirm. Not punitive. Containment. I changed the Wi-Fi password, updated my Apple ID recovery number, and turned off the smart lock's guest code that had been set to her birthday. I texted my landlord to confirm the lease terms regarding overnight guests versus household members in case I needed to cite them. He replied with the clause number and a thumbs up emoji. I took screenshots, saved the thread. By 15:40, the chorus started. Jenna's friend Casey, you're financially abusive. I responded with one line, authorized user is not equal to joint owner. Access revoked is not account closure. Attached a screenshot from the bank's FAQ with the relevant line highlighted. I didn't send it to shame. I sent it to end the fiction. Grant called me at 16:03 from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Brother, we can clear this up. Don't ruin careers over a misunderstanding. I forwarded the voicemail to Meredith and added, potential contact from subject. At 17:52, the elevator dinged. Jenna burst in, cheeks blotched, hair still Vegas sprayed, anger doing what shame refused to. She tossed her clutch on the counter. It skidded, spilled a tube of lipstick and a hotel keycard that wasn't ours. I have 19 missed calls from HR and a morals termination in my inbox, she said, breath hot with airport coffee. What did you do? I stayed seated at the dining table, legal pad open, pen uncapped. I reported a policy violation to HR, I said. You sent the evidence to me. That was a joke, she said, and then louder. You destroyed my career because you're insecure. Grant supervised me, I said. Section 6.1 prohibits romantic relationships between supervisors and employees. LMS quiz. Yearly certification. You and he put me at risk. I followed the protocol they train us on. She paced, snatched the banker's box label, read it like it had insulted her. I'm not moving. I didn't ask you to, I said. You're on the lease as an occupant. I will not lock you out. I will not touch your things. We're going to operate like roommates until we figure out next steps, and all communication about work will go through HR. That's the protocol. I slid a printed copy of the admin leave notice across the table so she could see the header. She didn't touch it. My mom says you planned this, she said, that you've been looking for a way to control me. My mother is dead, I said, and the sentence sat between us like a brick. I'm not controlling you. I'm controlling me. She stared at the ring pouch peeking from the red folder. Is that? It's staying in the safe, I said. Not as punishment, as preservation. Her phone vibrated. She glanced, swallowed, typed. My attorney friend says you can't use personal messages. Then your attorney friend can raise that with corporate counsel, I said, and wrote the time down. 18:11. Do you want Nora tonight, or should I handle her feedings? Don't pretend we're civil, she said. I'm not pretending, I said. I'm documenting. She shouted that it was a drunk joke, that a real man would have called, yelled, talked it through, not reported like a child. I said the quiet arithmetic. She parked on my boss's lap, the man with his thumb on my reviews and bonus, and I removed the conflict. She cried angry, not sorry. He was putting me on a management track. You ruined it. I pointed to the screenshots, the LMS slide, section 6.1. She pointed to vibes and mentorship. We were not speaking the same language. I pulled out 3 contractor bags and set them on the kitchen tile. Pack your things, I said, steady voice. The answer came in 2 sounds. The guest room door slam, then the deadbolt she'd installed when her cousin stayed last summer. Nora vanished beneath the sofa. I wrote the time in my pad, 18:29. At 19:10 my attorney, Lila, called back. I read our lease. My name is sole tenant, Jenna listed as approved occupant. Lila's summary was clean. 2 years of residence plus mail means she isn't a trespasser. She's effectively month to month under our lease's guest clause. Serve a 30-day notice to vacate. In writing, dated. Don't touch her property. Don't lock her out. Document everything. She emailed a template with a place for the unit number and a signature block. I printed 2, signed both, and slid one under the guest room door with my phone recording the delivery. I taped the second to the fridge. 1944. The Cold War began with the small theater of normal. She hummed. She set 2 wine glasses as if we were still us and asked, "Want pasta?" Like the last 48 hours hadn't happened. I said, "We're operating as roommates." I showed her the notice. Rent is paid through the 30th. Utilities split pro rata until move out. Send me a mailing address for deposit forwarding. She smirked. I'm not going anywhere. I took a photo of the taped notice, then emailed a PDF copy and mailed one certified to the unit itself because Lila said, Overkill wins court. USPS receipt. 9,405 5,368 9,900 30,000 11 27 15. I labeled shelves. Left side of the fridge, mine. Right, hers. I photographed before and after. I created a shared Google Sheet. Tabs for rent, utilities, incident log. I typed the first entries. 1. 30-day notice served 1944. 2. Authorized user access revoked 1407. 3. Smart lock guest code disabled 1415. I set the sheet to view only, shared to her Gmail, then screen recorded the share settings. She texted from the bedroom, "Control freak." I replied with the link and nothing else. Needling replaced apology. She waited until I sat with a game on low and walked through the TV's cone of sound to say, "If you were more ambitious, like Grant, I wouldn't need mentorship." I wrote the line verbatim in the log along with the time. 21:03. She FaceTimed Casey on speaker so I could hear, "He's making me homeless." I took a photo of the taped notice again because it kept vanishing. When it disappeared the third time, I printed 2 more and taped one inside the pantry door. Sleep divided into sprints. At 2:11 she rattled pans, then turned the shower on for 9 minutes, then opened and closed drawers she never uses. I didn't engage. I moved the red accordion folder and the fireproof safe into the locked hall closet and logged the move. Inventory intact. Mom's ring, Tacoma title, passports. I turned the guest Wi-Fi back on as a peace offering and changed the main SID's password anyway. Saturday morning, I made coffee in the dented Mr. Coffee and drafted a house rules. Temporary note. Quiet hours 22 to 6 o'clock. No guests without text. Shared spaces left clean. No property removal outside boxes. All work-related communication via HR or council. I taped the rules on the fridge beneath the notice like a municipal code. She added a sticky, "This is MY Home too." I left it there and logged the addition. At noon, her mother called my phone. "You blindsided Jenna. Real men don't call lawyers first." I said, "I called HR first because her boss was touching her in a nightclub, and that boss controls my income." She accused me of weaponizing policy. I said, "I'm using the policy exactly as it's written." After the call, I texted Meredith, Ethics Counsel, FYI unwanted third-party contact, and attached a screenshot. She replied with a neutral received. By evening, the domestic script included props. Her suitcase sat open on the guest bed like a set piece. Packaging from a new ring light littered the counter. She ordered a neon sign, Jenna, in cursive and plugged it in above the bar cart. The light spilled pink onto the notice to vacate. I stared at the glow, thought of our engagement timeline, crossed it out in my planner, and wrote a single replacement line. Boundary is not punishment. Boundary is a plan. At 21:48, she paused in the doorway. "I'll contest your notice." I nodded. "You can. The date still ticks." She laughed. A small, brittle sound. "Let's see who blinks first." I wrote 21:49 and the word standoff. Then I fed Nora, shut the hall closet, and set my phone on Do Not Disturb with exceptions for Lila, Meredith, and the building office. I brushed my teeth to the hum of her neon and the ice maker grinding, and I fell asleep with the red folder under my side of the bed like a life vest. Day 14, the knock came like rent. 3 quick, 1 slow. Ethan Cole, a man in a navy windbreaker, handed me a manila envelope and took a time-stamped photo of my door. Inside, Grant Miller versus Ethan Cole, defamation, tortious interference. Damages claimed, $350,000. His story said the lap photo was harmless fun, my report malicious, and the result career annihilation. The company's counsel emailed that they'd handle his wrongful termination case separately. My defense was, as the paralegal wrote, "Your matter. I hired a second lawyer, Marcus, because Lila handles housing and HR, not defamation. Retainer, $8,000. He read the complaint, underlined actual malice, circled my screenshots. "Truth is an absolute defense," he said. "Also qualified privilege you reported internally through the proper channel. But prepare to bleed time and money." I added Marcus to the Do Not Disturb list and moved another chunk of savings out of wedding and into litigation. The month's budget spreadsheet looked like a triage log. Mortgage, utilities, cat food, 2 legal teams. Meanwhile, the guest room door stayed shut. On the balcony, within range of neighbors, Jenna performed for witnesses. He envied my growth, so he nuked my mentor, loud enough to carry to 1508. I didn't answer. I watered the snake plant, took a photo of the moisture meter, and went back inside. Marcus's plan: file an anti-slap motion within the 30-day window, seek fees, attach the HR case number, the policy PDFs, the no-contact instruction from Ethics Council. Your report was protected activity, he said. We'll support with contemporaneous notes. I opened the red accordion folder and slid in a new tab labeled Miller Suit. Lila's instruction on eviction stayed steady. Buy the book. Witness present for any move out. Inventory. Photos of each box's contents. Chain of custody labels. And don't touch her work property, she said. If you find company devices, freeze, call me first. On day 16, my brother Sam came to help measure the guest room closet for bankers' boxes. We opened the bifold doors and found a Rubbermaid labeled Tech Old. Inside, a tangle of cables, a ring light, and a silver laptop with a faded asset tag. Heart MK2207, her former employer's machine. No password prompt, file vault disabled. The desktop was the opposite of minimal. Zips, InDesign dumps, vacation photos, a folder named Grant_personal. My mouth went dry. I didn't double-click. I closed the lid, photographed the asset tag, and called Lila on speaker. Don't open, she said. Document, secure, notify counsel. We slid the laptop into a clear evidence bag from Sam's auto shop. Dated, signed across the seal. I emailed Meredith, Ethics, CC'd Marcus and Lila. Located ex-employee device in my residence during notice period. Unopened. Secured. Instruction requested. Meredith replied at 14:22. Thank you. Please maintain custody. We will coordinate collection with outside counsel. Marcus replied a minute later. Chain of custody photo received. Do not access contents. I put the bagged laptop in the locked hall closet, beneath the passports, above Mom's ring, and logged the placement. At 18:03, Jenna emerged, saw the empty closet shelf, and went high volume. You're stealing my things. I pointed to the sealed bag and read the email thread aloud. Company property discovered. Preserved. Counsel notified. She jabbed a finger toward the closet. That's private. It's not, I said. It belongs to your former employer. If there's personal data on it, discuss with their counsel when they retrieve it. She grabbed her phone and started recording, narrating, He's taking my computer. I replied to her camera, calm. I'm preserving employer property as instructed by counsel. Then I wrote down the time and the exact words. 2 hours later, curiosity clawed. I kept my hands off the device and opened only the Photos app preview from the Finder sidebar thumbnail. No files opened. No edits. Even the preview was enough. Mirror selfies in Grant's office. Receipts with per diems that didn't match travel. A scan of a mentorship agreement Jenna had mocked up with bullet points for access in exchange for brand work. I closed the lid. I washed my face like I'd touched something caustic. Sam said what I didn't want to. If those match the dates you reported, they kill his malice claim. Marcus, when I relate it, was drier. If authenticated, they're discoverable and exculpatory. We'll seek a protective order, then produce to the extent required. He cautioned, do not preview contents further. If there's anything intimate, you don't want possession to look voyeuristic. Chain of custody is your friend. The slow bleed continued. Jenna Venmo requested me $600 for emotional damages, public humiliation. I declined and added a note. Not a valid debt. She posted a black screen story. Some men can't handle a powerful woman. Casey dmed me a snake emoji. I took screenshots and slid my phone into a drawer. At 23:41, I drafted the anti-slap. A timeline of protected reporting, copies of HR 2025-3117, the no-contact order, policy excerpts, and a declaration under penalty of perjury that the photos were sent to me by Jenna. I ended the draft with 3 lines. I did not lie. I did not embellish. I followed the policy we're trained on. When the building slept, a final ping. Outside counsel scheduling pickup for Heartbreak 207 at 9 o'clock. Chain of custody form attached. I signed. I slid the form into the red folder and set the alarm for 7 o'clock. The laptop sat sealed and silent behind the closet door, humming in my head like a neon sign I couldn't switch off. Outside counsel arrived at 8:57 with a hard case and a form that made my hand cramp from initialing. We broke the seal on Heartbreak 207 in front of the camera. I read the date and time aloud. Sam held the legal pad like a slate. Chain of custody. Cole outside counsel. We didn't open anything at the apartment. The rule was simple. I'm not touching it. They are. By 10:12 we were in a glass-walled conference room 12 floors above McKinney, the kind with a fridge full of LaCroix and a framed SOC2 audit on the wall. Info SEC plugged in a right blocker, booted from a clean USB and started imaging. I watched the progress bar crawl like a hospital monitor. The analyst, a woman with a cardigan the color of wet cement, clicked through folders for minutes and didn't narrate. She didn't need to. The file names read like trespass in bold. Apex_pricing model survival. XLSX. North Service 30. PPTX. Client transition plan. Docs. Pipeline_Q3, Q4. CSV. Top 50 decision makers. CSV. A subfolder. Grant_personal. Inside. Headshots, hotel PDFs, scanned notes on letterhead with our logo, and a spreadsheet named Equity Slips XLSX. It wasn't romance. It was a harvest. Our client lists, our internal cost models, decks we'd never shared outside NDA, full pipelines with contact titles and mobile numbers. The client transition plan spelled the whole thing out in 12 pages. Dates, talking points, targeted poach windows, and a column literally labeled Warmth via JH with green checkmarks. Last piece. A pitch deck for Miller Reed and Company. Placeholder branding, but the bones were there. Under team, Jenna was listed as Partner, Brand and Growth, 5% earn-in. The promotion she'd bragged about wasn't a title. It was ownership in a competitor seeded with stolen work. I felt a strange calm click in, the same click I get when a spreadsheet suddenly balances to the cent. The story aligned. The lap, the Vegas booth, the sudden mentorship, the hush-hush strategy sessions. It had all been misdirection shading a felony. I told Lila to pause eviction filings for 72 hours. Marcus asked for a meeting with general counsel. At 11:03 we walked 2 doors down. The GC Torres met us with a fountain pen and a legal pad she didn't need. Info SEC slid a thumb drive across. Torres skimmed a print of the client transition plan, drawing a neat box around Warmth via JH. She didn't look up when she said, "Thank you for preserving this cleanly, Mr. Cole." Her next sentences were procedural, not performative. Effective immediately, your administrative leave is lifted. HR will process reinstatement today. Your base increases 18%. We will defend you at our expense in Miller's individual suit and seek fees under the anti-SLAPP statute. Externally, we are filing a complaint against Miller and Jenna Hart for misappropriation of trade secrets, breach of fiduciary duty, and civil conspiracy. Criminal referral to the Dallas County DA will go out before close of business. She signed a letter and slid it to me. This memorializes the company's coverage of your reasonable defense costs. I read every line even though my hands wanted to shake. Coverage of costs. A raise. A letter of non-retaliation and thanks for reporting in good faith. She added, almost as an afterthought, you will have a new manager. Skip level to me if you experience blowback. I nodded and wrote the time in my notebook, 11:19. By 14:40, Marcus filed our anti-SLAPP and attached the GC letter, the HR case number, and an affidavit from Info SEC describing the chain of custody and preliminary findings. He sent me a draft of our press proof statement in case the filings leaked. Mr. Cole reported a policy violation in good faith and cooperated with an ongoing investigation. 2 hours later, Miller's counsel emailed a one-line notice. Plaintiff voluntarily dismisses without prejudice. Marcus replied with a request for dismissal with prejudice and fees. Torres CC'd herself and added a sentence that read like iron. Our fee petition will include time expended countering bad faith litigation. I took an Uber home. The elevator felt new. The neon Jenna sign was on in the kitchen, humming its cheap pink hum. Jenna sat at the counter with a spiral notebook and did not turn when I came in. You can't win, she said into her page. I didn't win, I said, setting the letter from GC on the island. You lost yourself. She didn't ask what was in the laptop. Maybe she already knew. I poured Nora's kibble, set the bowl down, and texted Lila. Eviction resumes after 72 hours. Criminal referral filed. Lila sent back a single check mark and the word, copy. At 1906, HR emailed. Reinstatement on record, back pay for the weeks of leave, new reporting line, and the bump, plus 18% effective this pay period. I moved the email into receipts, printed it, and slid it behind Mom's ring paperwork. I watched the page settle in the red folder and felt something unclench that had been coiled since the first Vegas story. The story wasn't over, but the narrative had turned. Monday, 8:32. Lila texted, emergency possession granted. Writ issued. Window today. Torres forwarded the signed order. 2 pages, blue ribbon, Judge Alvarez. Immediate possession to sole tenant. Occupant removed due to ongoing criminal investigation. I printed 3 copies and slipped one into the red folder, one into my back pocket, one on the fridge where Jenna's pink neon threw a cheap halo over the seal. At 10:07, the intercom buzzed. Dallas County Sheriff. 2 deputies, boots quiet, hats squared. A third with a body cam blinking red. Mr. Cole, I handed over ID and the writ. Deputy Ramos read it aloud, then knocked on the guest room door. Ms. Hart, this is a writ of possession. You have 30 minutes to collect essentials, clothes, medications, personal items. We'll inventory. Larger items to be scheduled. The deadbolt stayed mute. Ramos nodded. The locksmith set his kit on the carpet, unfolded his picks like a surgeon. The latch rolled back with a soft click. Jenna stood with her suitcase open and a ring light still plugged in. This is our home, she screamed, voice sharp enough to sting. He can't do this. I kept my hands at my sides. No, I said. It's my leased residence, and you used it as a base for a crime. Ramos raised a palm, neutral, not accusatory. Ma'am, you can challenge the writ in court. Today we execute. We moved by the book. Deputy number 3 read the inventory form as I photographed. Box 1. Clothing. Box 2. Personal toiletries. Box 3. Electronics. Phone. Chargers. No company devices. The silver work laptop was already gone to counsel. Ramos noted employer device previously retrieved. See chain of custody email and had me initial. Jenna tried to yank the neon sign. Ramos shook his head. Fixtures remain. She grabbed the wrong safe, my fireproof one, and I simply said, property of Cole. He glanced at the label, logged it, set it down. The line between control and cruelty stayed bright. At 10:41, Casey and her boyfriend materialized with a hand truck and commentary. Abuser, she stage whispered for the hallway camera. Ramos pivoted his body just enough to block the lens. Ma'am, keep the walkway clear. Jenna's mother called mid-sob to announce she'd called a journalist. I wrote the time and let the phone ring in the air. Lila's checklist carried us. Witness present, deputy number 3. Written inventory signed by both parties. Jenna refused. Deputies signed refused. Photos of each box's contents before taping. Labels with date, time. Ramos recited the last paragraph. Ms. Hart, you are trespassed from this unit. Any attempt to re-enter without Mr. Cole's consent will result in arrest. He handed her a copy of the writ. The elevator doors closed on her face. Mascara tracking a clean line through the foundation she'd never admit was war paint. At 11:22, the deadbolt slid home. The apartment breathed. I stood in the doorway to the guest room, indentations in the carpet where the suitcase had been, a circle of light on the wall where the ring light burned a ghost. I unscrewed the neon Jenna, coiled the wire, and placed it in box R04 labeled to return by counsel. Mercy isn't weakness. It's insulation. By 1400 hours, the company's filings hit Pacer. Civil complaint against Grant Miller and Jenna Hart, misappropriation of trade secrets, breach of duty, conspiracy. Torres forwarded copy and a short note. Criminal referral delivered to DA. Evidence. Device Hart, MK207. Metadata, access logs. Marcus texted a screenshot an hour later. Miller's suit against me. Dismissed with prejudice. Fees to be determined. Will petition for $18,430. He wrote. Your declaration was clean. Tuesday I walked back into work. New boss, Priya, shook my hand and said, welcome back, without scare quotes. She assigned me the Q2 network optimization model I'd wanted since January and blocked 30 minutes weekly on our calendars called Roadmap. 3 coworkers hugged me. One slid a post-it with a coffee order and a smiley. My badge beeped green at the turnstile. No one said, brother. Nights shifted. I took the Mr. Coffee off Grandpa and upgraded to a stainless Technivorm I bought with a slice of the back pay. I rehung Mom's Big Bend map where the neon had glared. I put the red accordion folder in the hall closet and, for the first time in weeks, didn't need to check it twice before bed. The DA's office emailed a victim liaison form. I filled in boxes I never imagined applying to me. Witness? Yes. Fear of retaliation? Moderate. Desired restitution? Legal fees only. No, I didn't want notification calls to go to my old joint number. I listed my brother as secondary contact. Marcus handled media inquiries with one dry line. We do not comment on pending litigation. On Friday at 17:03, the court clerk uploaded the fee order on the anti-slap. $18,430 awarded. Marcus sent a PDF confetti emoji. I printed the order, slid it behind the GC letter. Paper isn't vengeance. It's equilibrium. The quiet here isn't empty. It has layers. Nora's tag tapping the bowl. The hiss of the dishwasher. The soft thunk of mail. It isn't a fairy tale. 4 years went into a shredder labeled lessons. But it's fair. The dinner where I was turned into a punchline ended with the punchline stamped Exhibit A. On my desk, the skip-level note from Torres sits under a paperweight. Thank you for doing what was hard and right. I closed the tab on us the night the deadbolt turned. And I learned the plainest math. Respect accrues interest. Opportunities that ask you to ignore policy always overdraft.